Picture a small band of early humans, fast asleep on open ground. No walls, no doors, no fire left burning. Just soft bodies lying in the dark, in a world full of lions, hyenas, and leopards. By every rule of nature, they should have been an easy meal. A sleeping animal is a helpless animal, and yet here we are, hundreds of thousands of years later, still alive. So how did our ancestors survive the night, surrounded by predators that hunted in the dark? The answer is stranger and far more clever than anyone expected. And it starts with a question almost nobody thinks to ask. Why do most predators leave a sleeping human alone? To understand this, you have to see the night the way an ancient predator saw it. For a big cat, darkness is not a disadvantage. It is a weapon. A lion's eyes have a special reflective layer behind the retina that bounces light back through it a second time. It is the same reason a cat's eyes glow when a light hits them at night. This gives them vision in the dark that is many times sharper than ours. Their eyes gather far more light than ours, turning near total blackness into a soft gray world they can move through easily. A human, by contrast, is almost blind once the sun goes down. So on paper, the night belonged entirely to the hunters. Our ancestors were slower, weaker, and had no claws or fangs worth mentioning. If a leopard wanted a sleeping human, it should have been simple. But nature rarely works the way it looks on paper. Because those early humans were not lying there defenseless. They were protected by a set of invisible advantages that predators learned to respect. The first, and maybe the most important, was fire. When humans learned to control fire, they did something no other animal had ever done. They pushed back the dark. A single campfire changes everything about a night in the wild. The light ruins a predator's greatest weapon, its night vision. Staring toward the flames leaves it half blind to everything around it. The smoke carries the scent of burning for a great distance, a signal that says something powerful lives here. And most animals have a deep, instinctive fear of fire that is older than memory. To a lion, a flickering fire is not warmth. It is a warning. No predator is born knowing this. But the ones that ignored fire and got burned rarely made that mistake twice. Fear of flame became wired into their instincts across countless generations. So the first reason predators avoid sleeping humans is simple. For most of our history, we were almost never sleeping without a fire nearby. The fire also did something less obvious. The rising smoke and heat masked the scent of the people sleeping beneath it. A predator hunts as much with its nose as its eyes, and a camp full of smoke is a camp that is hard to smell. But fire alone does not explain everything, because humans did something else that changed the math of survival completely. They slept together. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but it changed everything. In the animal world, sleeping in a tight group is one of the oldest forms of defense. A single sleeping human is vulnerable. A group of 20 is a fortress. And the most vulnerable members, the very young and the very old, slept in the middle. The strongest adults formed a living wall around them without ever being told to. It was the oldest form of protection there is, a circle of bodies facing the dark. Predators are ambush hunters, and ambush only works on the isolated and the unaware. A cluster of bodies, breathing and shifting in the dark, is the opposite of an easy target. There are too many nostrils, too many ears, too many chances to be noticed. And here is where it gets genuinely clever. Ancient humans almost certainly did not all sleep at the same time. Researchers who study modern hunter-gatherer groups found something remarkable. People naturally drift off and wake at slightly different times through the night. The older members often sleep lightly and wake before dawn. Younger ones stay up later. The result is that at almost any hour, someone in the group is awake. The camp is never fully unguarded. Think about what that means for a predator watching from the shadows. There was never a single perfect moment when the entire camp went silent and still. Every time a hunter crept closer, some pair of eyes might already be open. It is a security system built out of nothing but human sleep patterns. No one designed it. It simply emerged because the groups that had it survived and the ones that did not disappeared. This may even explain something strange about sleep today. Why do older people so often wake in the early hours and struggle to fall back asleep? For a long time, this was treated as a flaw, a problem to be fixed. But it may be the leftover echo of an ancient job, the early morning watch, still running in bodies that no longer need it. Now think about the predator side of this. A lion or a hyena is a professional at survival. And survival means never taking an unnecessary risk. A single, serious injury, A broken jaw, a damaged eye, can be a death sentence for a wild hunter. So predators are ruthless mathematicians of danger. They constantly weigh the reward of a meal against the risk of getting hurt. And a group of firelit humans is a terrible bet. Even if the hunt succeeds, the odds of getting injured in the process are high. There are far easier meals wandering the same landscape. A slow gazelle, a young antelope, an animal alone and far from its herd. Why gamble your life on the strange upright creatures huddled around the flames? For most predators, the smart move was simply to walk past. But there was one more thing that made humans especially unappealing. We fought back in a way almost nothing else did. Most prey animals run. Humans, when cornered, turned, and attacked, together with weapons. Even a sharpened stick changes the entire equation for a predator. Early humans threw rocks with terrifying accuracy. They used spears, coordinated their movements, and made a great deal of noise. A hunting animal that expects a silent, fleeing meal instead meets a screaming, throwing, stabbing wall of cooperation. That is not food. That is a threat. A wounded predator cannot hunt, and a predator that cannot hunt slowly starves. So every attack on a human camp was a gamble with its own life. And predators learn. A young lion that gets a face full of burning branches and flying stones remembers it. Over generations, entire predator populations came to associate the scent of humans with pain and danger rather than dinner. We did not just survive the predators. We taught them to leave us alone. There is even evidence of this lesson written into animal behavior today. In many parts of the world, large predators go out of their way to avoid human scent entirely. Studies have shown that the mere sound of a human voice can send pumas, bears, and other predators fleeing. More than the sound of dogs, more than the sound of other predators. The human voice has become one of the most feared sounds in the natural world. In one study, researchers played recordings across the wilderness and watched what happened. When animals heard human speech, they abandoned their kills and fled far more often than for any other sound. A creature that weighs many times what we do, running from nothing but the sound of our voice. That fear did not come from nowhere. It was earned over hundreds of thousands of years, one dangerous encounter at a time. But let us go back to that sleeping camp, because there is a final piece to this puzzle. Our ancestors did not only rely on fire and numbers, they chose their ground carefully. A good sleeping site was not random. It was defended by the landscape itself. Caves with a single narrow entrance meant only one direction to guard. High ledges and cliff overhangs removed the danger of being surrounded. Some groups slept in trees, the way many primates still do, lifting themselves out of a hunter's easy reach. The right location did half the work of staying alive. Some of the oldest human shelters we have found sit exactly in these kinds of protected spots. Narrow cave mouths, rocky overhangs, high ground with a clear view of the land below. These were not chosen by accident. They were chosen by people who understood, in their bones, what the darkness could bring. And when you combine all of it, the picture becomes clear. Fire that blinded and frightened, numbers that overwhelmed, staggered sleep that never left them unguarded, weapons and fury that punished any attacker, and shelter chosen to remove every advantage a predator had. A sleeping human was never truly helpless. Around that fragile body was a wall of fire, cooperation, and hard-earned reputation. The predators of the ancient world were not merciful. They were calculating, and the math almost always told them the same thing. The upright creatures by the fire are not worth it. Scientists who study predator behavior call this risk-sensitive foraging. It simply means a smart hunter avoids any prey that might fight back and cause injury. And few things in the ancient world fought back like a group of humans. This is the quiet reason we are still here. Not because we were the strongest animals in the dark. We were not. But because we were the cleverest, the most cooperative, and the most stubborn. We turned our greatest weakness, a long night of helpless sleep, into a fortress that predators learned to fear. So the next time you fall asleep in a safe, quiet room, remember something. That feeling of safety in the dark is not new. It is ancient. Every human who ever lived is descended from the ones who made it through those nights. Not the fastest, not the strongest, but the ones who stayed together and stayed clever. It was bought by countless generations who learned the hard way how to survive the night. And a small part of that ancient vigilance may still live inside you in the way you stir at a sudden sound in the dark. If you found this as fascinating as I did, leave a like so more people can discover it. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. There is always another forgotten piece of our story coming, so I will see you in the next one.